does a great job in gathering information. So this summer, they were downtown in a number of locations and talked to a little under 700 people, really looking to understand who's coming downtown, why, what they're doing, and what they think of downtown. So I will provide these slides for you after the fact. We actually just moments ago got the final document. So this was a sneak preview, but one of the things we really looked at is who's coming downtown. Locals as a percentage of users surveyed has increased and I will interject, we do this every 2 years. Historically, we've done the Intercept survey every 2 years, but the comparisons in this are going to be from 2018. In 2022, rather than do the same comparisons, we did a number of studies throughout the year to really look at the trends post-COVID. So that year was a little bit of an anomaly. So we're comparing this summer input from 2018. So it gives us a really good measure of pre-pandemic comps. So you can see our U.S. residents outside of Colorado as a percentage has gone down, but locals in terms of the percentage of people asked who are locals has increased a bit. And really diversified from where we're seeing a lot more people from South Boulder and East Boulder coming downtown. But still primarily, in terms of the state, Colorado is mostly represented and gone up in terms of the visitation. This is changing fairly rapidly. But one of the things that is really encouraging is, compared to 2018, more people are coming downtown to spend money. You see meal has gone up quite a bit. Shopping has gone up quite a bit. Hanging out and enjoying the setting has gone down as a percentage of why people are coming downtown, though while they're down here, they do that. So I think that bodes well. We'll see also coming up, people are spending more money. A lot of this is about how they've learned about us. And again, I'm going to give you this so you can go into it in more detail, and I'm happy to answer questions. Local resident behavior. Locals are coming downtown more, but less frequently. And nothing terribly concerning, but I think people are finding recurring their trips downtown with less frequency. Looking at what else people do. Oh, no, I'm sorry, this is event. So, we're seeing, this is not terribly surprising because a lot of these events stopped happening or are just rebuilding, but people coming downtown to events much less than they did prior to the pandemic. Hopefully that is not an alarming stat and will turn around. Where else are people going? People who are downtown, where else are they going? We've seen a drop in the number of people going to 29th Street. Denver has gone up significantly in terms of where else people are going. And Longmont, I think Longmont was not called out in 2018 specifically. So it was kind of built into the other Louisville, Lafayette, Niwot, Maintown areas. So we specifically called that out. Generally, people say they're having a positive experience downtown. 50% said it was somewhat better or much better than their experience. 45% said it's about what they expected. And only a little less than 5% said that their experience of downtown was less than they expected. Business card, actually.
Oh, no.
Let's see. Let's talk to Susan.
Yeah, just to see, maybe we can.
Hi, Susan. Susan, can you hear us? Oh, it is live. All right.
Oh, to the public, okay.
All right. We'll have send something right out. Thank you. So, the quality of the experience, at the same time, a lot of people say it's more people say it's declining. Fewer people say it's improving. So, and I'll get a little more in depth about that. I think we kind of dug in specifically about some of the ratings of why people, what people are responding to. This is not a surprise, and I think it's something we're really increasing our focus on is just the impact of transient and homelessness in the downtown. And we got quite a bit that that really is called out as one of the bigger issues downtown. The Visit Boulder did a stakeholder survey as well, the perception of Boulder as the destination, and a lot of the input from that really mirrors this. We did mention more locals are coming downtown, but locals do spend less money than out of towners, so it's a little bit of a good and bad. I am going to speed through a lot of this. Mode share, this group will be interested. More people come by car. It's still the primary mode of transportation. We're getting people downtown, and it's gone up as the mode share. Generally, the satisfaction with parking is very positive, and it's gotten better. Ease of finding a space, safety, satisfaction, parking, people have a good experience parking downtown. And similarly, except for the convenience of buses, I think we're pretty stable in terms of other modes, a little bit dip in the satisfaction of walking and other modes. But
Yep.
Yes.
Do you get a sense that people come by themselves in cars, or are there multiple?
Don't know that. I don't have that data. Yeah, we didn't. I don't think there may have been stuff in that final report. We haven't seen anything on that. I would imagine a lot of the folks who were interviewed are visitors who are, there's sort of an inherent bias towards visitor in the survey because locals avoid surveys more so than visitors because they have a little more leisure time. And sure, I'll get a free ice cream cone if you're downtown working. So I assume that part of that is visitors who are going to generally be more in groups, but I'm making all of that up. I really don't know. And there may be some data more in depth there. Really quickly, we started this separate from the Intercept survey. We started collecting mobility data this year, and we have some interesting information that kind of corresponds to this. This is looking at and when you get an app on your phone and you agree to the terms, a lot of what you're agreeing to is to give me information about you. So we get aggregate information. We don't have any personal information about people's data, but we can see mobility. We can see where people come from. The data is very, very rich. So this is comps over 2019. Origin. I'm going to skip ahead to some of this. This is an important thing I wanted to see. This is kind of looking at our downtown employees. And really gauging by people whose phones are downtown all day and not downtown at night. So employees who don't live in downtown or kind of the assumption of based on their traffic mobility behavior is their employees. So we're seeing an increase. We're nowhere near pre-pandemic levels, and I honestly don't know what is being measured here in terms of these percentage of employee days. Does that mean somebody's spending 13% of their time downtown? Or I'm not really sure how we're measuring this, but we can see kind of a trend of a baseline of employees downtown here. So that's a lot of data. The key research, locals are coming downtown, trips to downtown are more evenly distributed among downtown neighborhoods. People are still driving to downtown as primarily, and people are coming downtown specifically to spend money, less so for events. And the overall ratings of downtown have dipped, and that's really accounted for. And cleanliness and safety, the idea of safety and cleanliness is the driving factor of that satisfaction. Parking ratings increased, and again, transients and homelessness are a serious issue. It's still 27% say that the situation's getting worse, but that's up over 10% from 2018. And spending per visit has jumped up, and that's we dug in a little bit of this, even accounting for inflation. It's still quite a significant chunk. So that's the mobile all the data we got through RRC in the various means. I'm going to really quickly, and then I'll wrap up because I know I'm probably already over my time allotment, but I'm going to just do a quick update on our vision plan. That we this week we'll be getting our final draft document, and then we'll circulate it for final comments from our boards, and we'll share it with this group as well. We've been working all year long. See, there's Chris asking people what they think of downtown. But we've been doing a lot of input from our board members, stakeholders, charrettes. We've been out in the community in a lot of different places asking folks about downtown and really kind of revealing a really co-created collaborative vision for the downtown. We build this as a 5-year vision leading up to the 50th anniversary of the Pearl Street Mall. So here we are. This is the vision as it stands. And I will say by a couple of caveats, this is not, we talk to a lot of people. I'm very proud of our outreach, and there's a lot of people we didn't talk to. So we're going to continue that outreach and engagement around downtown using this vision plan as a launch pad to continue to get more information. And it is a launch pad. We'll continue to evolve this just as downtown evolves every day, it changes, but this gives us a moment of this is our vision right now for the next 5 years. Here are some exciting things we want to accomplish or at least study further. So that's the caveat. Our bumper sticker vision is to grow downtown's reach, community, and success. And, this vision statement iterated many, many times throughout the process. We thought we had a really good vision statement, and then we got more input and more input. And I think everyone's pretty happy with this. Downtown Boulder is a vibrant mosaic of human-centered places and sub-districts that provide diverse experiences and opportunities for all through deliberate inclusion, innovation, and co-creation. So that is our vision statement that we collaboratively working with cities, many departments, and many folks throughout the community have come up with. I'm going to skip ahead to that umbrella is these 6 big ideas, and and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going into detail about them, but this is a very overview, and I will share the document with our MIG, who we've been working with on this process, is wrapping up their final version of it this week, and I will share that with you all, and I'm looking forward to your feedback and response to that as we finalize the document. So the big idea is kind of starting concentrically with the Pearl Street Mall, positioning the mall for 50 more years of success, and then facilitating discovery, activation, and opportunities off of Pearl Streets. Really spent a lot of time talking about the Creek corridor as part of downtown and our relationship to other neighborhoods. We've really talked a lot about some of the development at University Hill as an opportunity for downtown and Boulder Junction and the neighborhoods and all the other places. How does downtown relate to the other districts, and how do we connect both from a mobility and access way, but also from an identity and kind of psychological way? What is our role relative to these districts? Tying the whole thing together with safe, comfortable, and interesting infrastructure. And then a lot of telling the story is about identity. I'm not going to go through all this in the interest of time, but I will share this. But I will, I think, can I get to that from here? I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm happy to answer questions. I will say right now, our process, as we're waiting for the final document from MIG, we're also building our work plan, Downtown Boulder Partnership for 2023. And I can tell you some of our kind of strategic priorities right now. We're kind of narrowing it down based on input from the vision plan, but also many, many other input sources that certainly the RRC study and other studies, really focusing on public safety and addressing sort of a strategic response to the impacts of homelessness in public space in the downtown, working with our partners at the Chamber and Visit Boulder and the city to really create a strategic response to homelessness in the downtown. Economic vitality is something we're really interested in. It's really our core purpose, what we do in terms of bringing people to downtown. down. But kind of a sub bullet under that, we're really interested in office use downtown and kind of exploring. I don't know what that means for us, but I know our work plan is to figure out what it means. How do we respond to the change in office use, and are there things we can do as an organization to re-engage and reactivate some of the underutilized office space that we're seeing more and more of now. Looking at inclusion, equity, and co-creation. And a lot of that ties into all of the things we're doing. Certainly when we come out of the vision plan, looking at some of the built environment programs we'd like to activate, looking at that from a co-creation space and an inclusion space. And then finally, citywide connectivity, which goes back to that vision plan point of, connecting with other neighborhoods. So that's my very quick update. I will provide you all with lots of this in document form, so you can ask me questions and digest it in a little more of a leisurely pace. So happy to answer any questions, or even happier if you have answers to questions, but yeah, so thanks.
Thanks, Chip.
I saw the hour 90-minute version of that, and it was great. And there's a lot there. And Stephanie, did she make it there? Did she walk in or?
She is not. It sounds like she's going to try to call in when she's available, but we don't know.
Okay.
But we do have Susan here, so we do have a quorum.
Oh, okay.
So we can officially maybe do a roll call, confirm the quorum, and move into the formal procedural items.
Cool. I just want to make sure Justin and Susan didn't have any questions for Chip. There's a lot of value in what he just presented. I didn't want to gloss over that.
No, I'd like to see the materials so I can dive into. I know you guys have spent a ton of time on
Yeah.
this.
The RRC data I got today, and I can share that with you, and the MIG is working on finishing the vision plan. We'll get one more round of response, but we're going to get the final draft, I think tomorrow, this week sometime. And then we'll send that out. And like I said, we have one more chance to kind of weigh in before it's set in flexible concrete. So I'll share that with you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chip. So now that Susan's here, welcome back from your trip. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes? I did notice a misspelling of my name in it, so I might request that DOE, if you search for DOE in the minutes, you'll find that Mr. Doe doesn't exist. Barring that, does anyone move approval of the minutes?
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Seconded. They are approved. Otherwise, barring the change to DOE. No public is here. I'm just not aware of all the names up here. Is everyone who's on the Zoom, any public members?
Thanks for the question. We do have Ellie Small on the attendees. I don't recognize her name from the Metropolis group. Matt, can you confirm whether or not Ellie is part of your presentation?
Yes, confirmed. Ellie Small is a Metropolis team member. Thank you.
Then I will promote Ellie the panelist, and then we do not have any members of the public outside of the Metropolis team.
Great. We did need to, next on the agenda was procedural items, approval of the 2023 DMC meeting dates. Chris, did you want to address the other ad hoc meeting we were going to have next week as well?
That is later in the agenda under matters from staff. Under art and garages. So as long as the dates for 2023 that were provided in your packet work for the folks in the room, then if you all approve, we will proceed with those dates.
One of them is on my birthday, but I don't think it's worth changing everyone for that matter. I will eat it.
Bring presents is what you're saying. And when I say presents, it means a quorum. Everyone will be.
Oh, government humor. Parliamentary humor. Yes. So I move approval of the minutes. Anyone seconding?
Second.
Great, approved. No public participation. CHIPS update has already happened. Consent agenda. Did anyone have any items on the consent agenda discussion? Susan or Justin?
No.
Efficiently run. Let's matters from staff. Do you want to have a Metropolis go first, Chris, just because they're all here?
Yes. Sorry, DK. We are going to ask our consultant team to present first on gateless technology and their proposal for our downtown garages, and then we'll move on to e-scooters. All right. With that, we will hand it over. I will let you all introduce yourselves and lead the discussion. I think we have about 20 minutes for you all.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you all allowing us to present to this group. Can you enable sharing for me so I can share our screen? That'd be great.
Yes.
Awesome. My name is Michael McCarthy. I'm based out of Denver, Colorado. Spent plenty of time up in Boulder. I'm really excited about what the Downtown Partnership was sharing because I remember I have lots of fond memories from seeing Boulder grow over the not quite all 50 years, but many of them. So what you presented it certainly got me excited. This is my first meeting with Boulder, but still disabled, so I can't jump into that.
Yeah.
On the call.
Can you try from, so I'm trying to just hold on a moment because it's not letting me make you a co-panelist from my vantage point. A co-host.
Do you need to demote Chip?
Oh,
We might, hopefully not. So, yeah, let's see. Make co-host. I don't have that option. Interesting. All right, now you should be able to share your screen.
Look at that magic. All right, everybody, can I get a thumbs up if we can see everything, or verbal confirmation?
Good.
Yes.
Perfect.
Got
All
it.
right. So Metropolis has had the opportunity to respond to the RFP for the city of Boulder for our gateless technology. And on the call here, I have pretty much anybody that can answer a question about Metropolis, combined 100 some odd years of experience when you factor in some of these folks, worth of operations and tech experience across a diverse amount of operations, everything from commercial garages to airports to hotels to flat lots to event parking. And you'll see a lot of these names on the call. Metropolis, for those of you who have not been part of the discussion so far, is the first and only vertically integrated full stack parking solution. And this is important because historically, municipalities have had an operator and an equipment provider. And Metropolis made the decision to acquire a parking company some time ago and deploy their gateless technology to over 400 some odd sites. And our technology, partnering with our operations, allows us to give a remarkable experience to our patrons. It also cleans up a ton of back-end work that has been historically a manual process, an inefficient process, and one that creates, I guess the word I would use is a little bit of lag of time when it comes to the user experience, whether it's walking up to a pay on foot machine and fumbling with a credit card, or to the onboarding and offboarding of permits for city employees or monthly parkers, to understanding what the validations system may look like. All of that takes time, effort, and ultimately loss of financials and increased expenses. I'm going to start this video. I hope you all can see it. This is a high-level view, a video that's been done for a while. We are a vision camera technology. And what's different about this than, say, the tolls that are on 470, oops, go back, sorry, is that these cameras are artificially intelligent, reading like humans would read. C470 will tell you it's a license plate, and that's it. We're telling you what the location is, what the capacity is. Are people part of this? Are people part of our ecosystem? The first visit, someone will scan a QR code. And if you've been to a lot of metropolitan areas, you've probably done this. If you've been to a restaurant, you've done this before. We're asking for about 45 seconds of someone's life to onboard themselves into the Metropolis ecosystem. Once they do that, they never have to go through this process again. Their car and their payment method will be synced. So people that are coming to Boulder, like myself included, once I go into the Metropolis garage, I will get notified for the second visit and any other visit after that, that they're aware of I'm here, how long am I going to be parking for, simplifying that process. That whole video took about a minute. It's a little bit less than that when it comes to actual user time. The benefit of that is it takes out, like I said, a lot of the manual back-end process. And when we talk about the driving in and driving out, it also takes out the gates. Gates break, machines break, ticket spitters get jammed, credit card jams, et cetera, et cetera. We've dealt with that a lot. Even when we do our overlays, I mentioned that we acquired a parking company. We set up our Metropolis cameras and had it run side by side with a gated system. And our Metropolis camera system, the one that we're talking about installing for the city of Boulder, outperformed the gating situation with I want to say several thousand additional transactions recorded, as opposed to the gate system. When you can imagine a situation where somebody pops a gate and you have no idea how many vehicles left at that point, or someone breaks the gate at 10 o'clock at night and then traffic doesn't slow down, no one stops to pay or anything that goes along with that until someone comes to fix it. So even with broken gates or high functioning gates, our system still captures that. You can drive in, you can drive out. The system, after you're in our ecosystem, vends itself, allows us to take payment and then pass that payment along to the appropriate person. It also improves the administration. And I've got Evan on the call, and Evan has lived this world a lot more than I do. But Evan, do you want to talk about what it looks like for permitting? Because I think that's going to be a big factor for the user experience when it comes to the city of Boulder.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mike. Hope everyone's doing well today. Regarding the permitting, I know in our previous discussion, this was kind of a hot topic, and what that really looks like for everybody. So it's a very seamless process, and we've really moved towards a self-service model, if you will. So tenants of office buildings, retail partners of Pearl Street have the opportunity to sign up on our network. And there's two ways to do this. Number one, if they're an individual parker, they visit metropolis.io and they select the garage they want to park in, and they can become a monthly subscriber at the snap of your fingers that quickly. The second option is an enterprise onboarding. And what that consists of, let's say retailer A wants to cover the parking for the employees. They would onboard those employees through a redemption code or an email invite. Those employees would then enter their basic information, as you would see on that video that Mike showed just a minute ago. And it's very quick. It's literally a name, a phone number, and a license plate. Once they do that, they can park in the garages. We have the ability to offer a permit for a single garage. We can offer a permit for 2, 3, 4, 5 different garages. Also works for surface lots as well. And this works on a monthly basis. So you can cancel throughout the month and pay the prorated charge. You can join whenever throughout the month, so on and so forth. So, the benefits to this is it's very seamless. You're not having to wait on an access card or order access cards anymore. That has all been eliminated. So as Mike was saying, it's really a 45-second onboarding and a drive-in, drive-out experience. We also have the ability, I know this came up as well, to
we do have a question, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah.
Is there the ability for a shared permit?
Can you elaborate a little bit more what you mean by shared?
Sure. The office that I used to work in, we had X number of permits that we got through the building owner, then through the city. And we had some people that didn't use their permit every day. So, and especially now with fewer people in the office, one person would use it Monday, another person would use it Tuesday. I mean, it's the same permit. It's only being used once at a time, but it just gives the buyer of the permit flexibility.
Yeah, absolutely. So we call that a carpool or a hybrid feature. And really what that consists of, we would say, if you have an enterprise account, you can onboard, let's say 50 people to your enterprise accounts. And let's say, you pay for 25 spaces. So 25 people could utilize that garage on a daily basis. If you were to exceed that 25th person, that 26th person would then just be billed the daily rate to park in that garage. So there is the option to onboard more subscribers to your account than actual passes. So we do have that ability, and basically, you know, it's simple auditing, and we're able to see, you know, like I just said, if that 26 person comes in, retailer A gets billed back, you know, $3 if they come in after 3 p.m.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
As long as we're asking questions, which lots are we thinking, are this for the parking garage? Where are we using this in Boulder?
We are not using it anywhere in Boulder yet. We are contemplating it for all of the downtown Cajun-owned garages.
The garages. Thank you.
So Evan talked a little bit about the ability to validate. So suite holders or office buildings or even merchants that have some sort of lease arrangement with the city or whatever that looks like, we can custom validations through QR codes and apply those to the various rates that are out there. We are also nimble, I guess, enough or flexible enough to do dynamic pricing. So if you have a big event in, maybe it's graduation weekend and we need to up that for that weekend and return everything back to normal on Monday, we can do that. But our validations are done with a simple QR code that would be specific to those line items, those enterprise accounts, if you will, so that they can apply that accordingly. And then we can track that with a significant amount of analytics behind that, so that we can then take that data, pass it along to, I don't know, the downtown partnership, and they can see how many people are visiting, where they're visiting from, who is validating the most, where's the foot traffic coming from. And those are things that would come out in reports from our validation reports that we provide every month as part of our reporting. Enforcement, Evan or Matt, you want to take this and talk about this?
Yeah, I'll talk about enforcement. So we have the ability to offer automated enforcement. And we talked a little bit about this on the previous meeting as well, but really what this consists of, if a transient parker pulls into the facility and they do not go through the registration process that we talked about earlier, and they drive out of the facility, they are then issued a citation. And this is then skip traced through the Colorado DMV, and they receive a notice that looks identical to what is on this screen here. And it's got a timestamp of when they entered, when they exited. There's also a picture of their vehicle. And then it lays out the information as well. So, you know, we'll say, hey, your original fare was $3. You are now paying, you know, $25 for not registering. There's also the ability here to collect the original parking fee if maybe it's an honest mistake by a first-time visitor. You know, you have the ability to say, okay, well, we'll waive the $25, you know, please scan this QR code, register as a member, and submit the $3 parking fare that you skipped out on previously. So what we kind of recommend as well with the automated enforcement is on foot enforcement. And that is really just notifying people that, you know, hey, we were in this garage and we noticed your car was flagged. Please scan this QR code before exiting so that you don't receive a citation in the mail, things like that. So these are tracked on a weekly basis, as citations are. They go out on a weekly basis, skip traced on a weekly basis as well.
Yeah, it's really just showing the robustness of our system in order to capture revenue for you. We have the ability to do that. We want people to have a parking experience that is remarkable, but we also want to recognize that this is an asset in a lot of cases, and we can do as much or as little enforcement as the city of Boulder wants. We want to make sure that you feel good and that the patrons are feeling good about partnering with us as we take this type of product forward to more than 450 sites and really separate it from other places out there, but just showing the ability to do that out there. I talked a lot about stats. You will get a ton of stats with our offering so that you all can make good decisions, whether it's real-time occupancy for pricing enhancements that we spoke about, or which garages are being utilized by these people on these days, et cetera, and where you might be at a 75% occupancy versus a 30% occupancy. We can track trends and provide those analytics with micro and macro level so that people... I'm sorry?
No, and nobody say anything. You can continue.
Okay. So, but we're data rich right? What's cool about our product, in my opinion, is that it's next generation and our user adoption has been quite significant. And we have a local team here. It doesn't cost there's very low capital expense, but and I don't know that the slide's in here. And if I'm skipping ahead, I apologize, Ellie. But a year ago, we had right around 1 million users that were unique users, not repeat users. And in over a year, we generated another 1.6 million unique users who have adopted the Metropolis system, who are using it frequently. And that is not repeat uses. That's not number of cases. That is individual people that have signed up, given us 45 seconds of their life, not taking any room on their iPhone or their smartphone device, using our web-based app, and been able to experience Metropolis parking. And that continues to grow. I don't know a lot of other industries, particularly in the parking and mobility space, where you can say in under a year, you got 1.5 million people to adopt your technology and then come back and use it again because you like the experience that you're getting. Once you come back and it says, hey, Don Poe, welcome back to 123 Arapahoe, or I forget what garages are down there. How long are you parking today? Right? That is pretty remarkable and very different. And I think that would set Boulder apart from a lot of the other municipalities out there as far as the parking experience goes. We're talking about our next gen technology. We have tons of local and regional support should we need it to assist with operations and give you all the best possible experience for the city of Boulder, its residents, its business owners, and from what I'm hearing earlier, the visitors there. So they will continue to pour into the economy there.
Michael, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
So if the city goes with the automatic enforcement, that means a letter is generated and sent. What about collections? Who is responsible for following up on that?
Evan?
Yeah. So we have the ability to handle the citations going out, the collections as well. Or if you would like that to be on your platform, we can also integrate with that as well. So really, it's y'all's decision, but we do have the ability to handle the citations going out plus the collection process as well.
Chris, do you see that being folded into the regular?
Sorry, it's multitasking.
I was talking about collections. Who's responsible for following up on people that don't pay after a citation is received?
So, yeah, right now we have zero enforcement in the garages because it's all gated, and our enforcement operation is a general fund operation. So our intent would be not to have city run enforcement in the caged garages. And so we want to rely on an outside vendor to do that as they've described.
Yeah.
And that's what we're currently doing at the Depot Square garage. We do have gateless using a different system.
Yeah.
But the enforcement is handled by.
Yeah,
So
and that's
it
well
would
within our
be-
scope.
Ticket process.
And that's all in negotiation.
Yeah.
It seems like we could determine and partner with them on being either very friendly or very, or strict. Yeah.
Yeah, we have the data capabilities, and I'm sure Evan and Ron talked about this in our last call with what we call the bandit list. If someone makes an honest mistake, sure, but if someone's a habitual abuser of the parking system, we've captured every transaction that they've come and gone with, right? And those were the ones you may want to enforce a little bit heavier, going, hey, you've been here 5 times and we've talked to you twice, right? We've let you know what's going on here. You're either ignoring it on purpose or have no desire to pay. Which one are we talking about here? And then we can enforce heavier. I mean, gosh, if you wanted to, in some markets, they ask us to boot or tow cars. I don't think we need to get to that point, but we certainly can handle the billing point.
What is the?
You had mentioned having somebody on premise to help assist people with the QR codes. I guess that would be somebody. That wouldn't be somebody through your company. It would be somebody we'd employ as a city to be, I guess, an attendant, parking lot attendant of sorts.
Right.
I understand.
In our proposal, we originally had talked about providing the city of Boulder a technology manager that's dedicated to the city, and he would be responsible of training your team and providing the tools needed to help facilitate the onboarding.
In the same token, we've come to discover that if people need more labor for whatever reason, that we can hire it for them. But the way that it's scoped, we believe it'll be highly effective with the current proposal. But if there's a desire for whatever reason to add resources, we can completely handle that.
And then kind of a logistics question as well is, do you have capacity to give updates for the like if the parking garage is full, to transmit that to signage that we have incorporated with our parking garages?
We do. We have the ability to integrate with whatever virtual display you have out there. So we have real-time occupancy, as Mike highlighted. You'll be able to see that through a dashboard, attendance in the garages. If they are in there, they can see it through the iPad as well. But we can incorporate to where, if we say we get down to, 5%, maybe you close it off to transients at that time, and it's only monthly parkers coming in. So like I said, we do have the ability to integrate with
Dynamic signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for clarity, transient in our world means daily parkers that are coming that are not monthly parking. We're not talking about homeless population or anything. So we're looking through there. It's a word. We got to find a better definition for it. But yes, logistically, we can change that. We can do that dynamic pricing, and we can fully integrate with any digital signage that you have out there.
What is the budget for this? How do you charge?
Great question. So we charge a software as a service fee that is highlighted in the proposal that has been presented to the group, I want to say a week or two ago. And then we make money off of our transaction fees that is, if you've ever taken an Uber, and it varies day to day, market to market, you'll see a nominal transaction fee in the Uber that is tacked on to the parking fee. And that is where we make our spread. It is a nominal fee that is, so if you say it's $3 for parking, it'll end up being $4, just for an example with that. And that's where we would earn our keep, if you will.
So am I to understand that it's $1 per transaction then?
That would be, yes, that's fair.
And so it doesn't slide based on how long, like if someone's there for half an hour versus 8 hours, it's $1.
Correct, right? So it's not, it's the bare minimums, like, because it's just the way it's built out currently. What we do have the ability to do for people is there's a grace period that you want to establish, so that if people are running in and out, whether it's 15 minutes or 20 minutes, we have the ability to do that by garage for our daily parkers.
Right now we are looking at changing fees and also encouraging people to park in the parking garages. Right now, this will make the parking garages have a fee in addition to all the street parking. And so I just wondered if the DMC thinks about the surcharge for where we're wanting people to park in the first place. And pushing people to park in the garages, but the parking garages now cost more than the street.
So I would offer that we've not offered the contract to Metropolis, and there would be a lot of negotiation that would take place prior to signing a contract that could include rolling in the fee, whatever it is, into our rate, so that the end user doesn't necessarily experience, this is a possibility. The end user would not experience a change in their hourly rate, but it would roll into what they're currently charging. And I would also offer that folks who are using Park Mobile on street are charged a 45-cent transaction fee right now. So while we do have a $1.50 per hour on street, it's going up to $2. Folks who use Park Mobile are paying a 45-cent transaction fee on top of whatever their hourly rate is on street. So again, it's not for certain the approach that we'll take yet if we want to move forward with Metropolis. And we would want to seek ways to level that out with what we're charging on street for sure, to not move away from our desire to make garages our most affordable option for parkers downtown.
Or we split it, like we make it 45 cents and the city eats the 55 cents in the, so it matches Park Mobile or something. There's options, it sounds like.
Yeah, there's
That's-
lots of ways, and I mean, I can't understate or overstate our commitment to the city of Boulder. There are ways to get around this, to get this done. We have seen client adoption look at, I mean, the 45 cents, like I completely forgot about that until you just said that. And I use it all the time when I'm traveling. The same as with an Uber. I'm not looking at the line items for what I'm being charged on Uber. Oh, it cost me $15 to get across town, or $16.80 or whatever it was, and then I expense it. So I'm not the most average use case in there, but I think the barrier to entry has been breached in in a bunch of other ways where people are getting fees tacked onto things. But to your point, Chris, yes, it's something that we're open to discussion. We want to make the right decision. We want to be here for a while. This is not a 1 month decision where we're trying to get everything squared away and then call it good. So long term.
Are we able to know, when I think of like downtown employees versus visitors, are we able to charge different rates, like for someone who's a waiter versus a customer?
Depending on the enterprise agreement, sure, right? So it's all about what we want to onboard, and that would be through the different, and I'm going to use the word tenants that are associated with it. We can have different rates for tenants that is built in on the back end. Now, depending on who's paying their parking, that's very easy. If there's a validation code for, say, employee that would go to said restaurant for the rate for the waiter, that would be something that we could have, for argument's sake, 2 validation codes, right? One for the employee and one for the person that's eating there. That is something that we've done where people have had validation codes for AM and PM shifts of people visiting different establishments because of the surge pricing associated with. So lots of flexibility in that world. Did I answer your question, Don?
Yes, thank you. Justin, Susan, anything else?
Do you track data on how often, like the rate of incidents for honest mistake parking and leaving? Are you noticing like a large amount of people actually incurring citations versus not? I don't know.
Are people
exactly
honest?
what
Is that what you're asking about?
Well, I just want to know, like, are you seeing like 50% of the people that park in spaces with this system? Are you seeing like a percentage of people that are not scanning the QR code, not reading signage, things like that? Like, are you getting a large amount of people noticing everything and scanning and doing all the steps, or just kind of running in, parking, not seeing a gate, and then?
Yeah, so I would, and Evan, feel free to jump in. I would say that it's less than 5% overall. And the offset revenue wise, in one of our case studies that we had done, was that the revenue that we lost out on from that percentage was far less than the revenue that the same facility was losing when the gate was stuck in the up position for an indeterminable amount of time. So there is some goodness left in this world. I still believe in people, and with the proper amount of signage. And yes, there's a learning curve to the onboarding to a degree, but the QR code is so prevalent in our lives nowadays that has really sped things up.
And is signage part of your installation? Like, do you kind of come with all the stuff to make it helpful, or is that something that your clients have generated on their own?
We do have a signage program. I don't know how many spaces or signs or what that looks like based on the pro forma. Ron, you look like you're about to talk, so I'm sure it's part of the proposal. I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
Yeah, it was, I believe we included it in our proposal.
Yeah, so we want to have a similar look because much like when you go to your, you might hate Starbucks, but like they have a very consistent product. When you go to Starbucks, you can count on a certain level of consistency. When people see the Metropolis sign and they're familiar to it, they will then park in a Metropolis enabled garage because they go, this is easy. I've done this. So our signage plays a big role in that, in making sure that we have that consistency and people can recognize it.
What about vandalism of equipment? I guess primarily cameras.
Yeah, so it doesn't happen a lot. But when it does, that's part of our SaaS fee. So if a camera breaks, someone decides to take a 9-iron to it, that's on us. We are immediately notified and it is fixed in, I mean, gosh, you got 4 or 5 people here that are based in Denver. And I don't think we've experienced vandalism at any of our other sites in this particular market, as we would say in other downtown metros, but we would then have it repaired in less than 24 hours. We're not relying on a third party to call and say, hey, we need you out here. And they're like, I'm booked till Tuesday, or I got to order a part or anything else like that. That's the vertical integration that I talked about in the first slide, where we handle everything in-house, and that allows us agility and speed to fix things like that.
Can your system see through those shaded license plates that they sometimes use for the photo radar?
Yeah, it reads it like it's at dark. And I mean, there's going to be cases where we miss something, but what's unique about Metropolis is that it's artificially intelligent in the way that it reads everything, but we also have a human backstop. Now, as someone who's traveled to Boulder frequently with my bike rack, right, on the back of my car, that's going to impede some of it. And we have people in our backstop that are in a control center, if you will, if you can imagine it, who are getting reads and it says, hey, this isn't pairing correctly. What's going on here? Is that an 8 or a B, or is this bike rack blocking it? And our camera with the human backstop and the artificial intelligence is reading more than just the plate now. It is reading the entire car so that we can see it's a black Subaru with this and a partial plate. So they can pair that on entry and exit. So the cameras are really getting smarter, and with the backstop highlighting saying this was a bad read, let's connect these two events. We're helping teach the system how to read a little bit better. So in the case of a darkened license plate or a bike rack, we have been able to overcome that with a higher frequency than anything else out there.
Yeah, and Mike, one thing to add on to that too, for instance, if it snows out or somebody takes their license plate off and they try to park within the garage, the camera vision is smarter than LPR technology. So as Mike mentioned, we're able to read more than just a license plate. We can read the make, model of the vehicle, any distinguishing features on the vehicle. So if there is a
baby on board sticker,
a baby on board sticker, exactly, or the stick figure families, we can identify that vehicle even without the license plate. So we could say John Doe pulled in with his license plate 4 weeks ago. He came back with his license plate off. We can still say, John Doe, we know that's you, and we can pair that entry and exit and still charge him.
But there will be cases where you just can't track it and you don't know who it is and they get to park for free.
We're not perfect yet, right?
And that's where we have the human element behind it, as Mike mentioned, through our command center. So they're able to tap in and see, real time what's going on and, be able to, fix any issues that, could possibly arise.
Yeah.
And in addition to having our, 24/7 control center, human backstop, as part of our proposal, we also offer, basically hiring and managing a technology manager, in market where, they'll have access to our, admin portal. And, every time that there's a bandit that goes throughout the garages, they'll get notified. And, if they see it's a repeat offender, they can go there and, put a ticket on their windshield as well to help drive conversion.
Question, Susan?
So I know you haven't finalized the contract yet, but where do you anticipate the budgetary or the financial impact to be?
That's a great question. So when we went gateless at Depot Square Garage, which was the owners association purchasing the equipment outright, I think we spent about $250,000 for that one garage. So that's what we were anticipating in budgeting for a gateless system for the 5 downtown garages. This model would not put that much demand on our capital improvement program. So if we wanted to go this direction.
Yes.
So we certainly budgeted for a model that was different than this, but this model was not an option when we did gateless at Depot Square.
Okay.
So less upfront costs, maybe a little bit more income, little less income around, just because we're either eating costs and fees, or we're not necessarily catching everyone, but robbing Peter to pay Paul a little bit here.
I would say definitely less. There's zero capital X, right? We're not asking for any CapEx dollars. Our OpEx is typically lower if you compare apples to apples and associate the intrinsic payroll as well as the actual realized payroll associated with different tasks. But our revenue generation, as I mentioned the example earlier, beats a lot of people, even with the misses that happen. So if a gate is up or something is broken, you're collecting zero revenue. Zero. With us, we are still collecting a significant amount of revenue, and we're really just managing the bandits at that point in time. Factor in the ability to dynamically price things for events, track data so that you can make these decisions in the future a little bit more aggressively if that's the desire to really turn this into a profit center to help fund other things throughout the city of Boulder. I like our chances of that happening.
One other quick question. We've talked about vandalism to the cameras. Have there been issues with vandalism to the QR codes, and what has the approach been to keep those clean?
Yeah, so with the signage that we have out there, I've seen some fantastic drawings that I would not show to my grandmother on them, and we have a line item budget in there to go ahead and replace that from a beautification standpoint. And with I haven't seen a bad read because of vandalism with the QR code. I think it's specific enough that people can read it. But if something is not looking good out there, that would be where our technology manager, through their daily walks and looking at things, would go, hey, this is new. Let's go ahead and get this to make sure we're properly representing the facility that we're serving.
Have there been any issues with somebody printing their own QR code and putting it on top, having it direct to a different website, and then
I have not come across that, but Evan, you're shaking your head no. So
no, I haven't come across that either, and that is really why we're pretty particular on the branding aspect too, so that if you come to a landing page that does not look like our colors or brand, you're kind of alerted at that point and saying, hey, something may not be right here. So that's a big part of the whole branding package and the signage package, really easing the minds of people, saying, okay, this is a legit landing page. Or if somebody was a criminal and put up their own QR code, you could identify, hey, something doesn't seem right here.
I don't know, those Nigerian princes are pretty good.
They're sponsoring 4 of them, right? So I think the other thing is, and I'm on a lot of the emails and Slack channels out there. If someone has an issue, we hear about it pretty quickly, right? Like, hey, you didn't charge me this month. I don't want to lose my parking access, right? And I'd have to imagine that the same sort of engagement would exist if someone's like, hey, this doesn't look right. I've parked here before. And with our technology manager checking on things, it could be as simple as just running through and scanning the phone, going, yep, still good, still good, still good. Those sort of systems and procedures can be put in place to avoid those sort of problems.
Anything else, team? Well, thanks, to Michael and your team. I really appreciate the presentation. Lots of really fascinating information.
No, I think we're a fantastic solution for the city of Boulder. I would love to see it up there both as a user and of course, because I work for Metropolis. And if you have any questions, you have everybody's contact information that could answer this. I don't know what next steps are, but Ron, I'm going to leave you and Evan to connect with Chris on that one because I know we're over time right now. And having served on plenty of boards, I understand agenda integrity better than most. So if there's anything we can do, let us know.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll be in touch regarding next steps in the selection process.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
All right, in the interest of time, we can talk about that at the end of matters from staff, but I want to respect DK, who's been waiting in the wings on the e-scooter evaluation update.
E-scooters, woo! Hey, everyone. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Dave Kemp. I go by my initials DK. I'm a senior transportation planner with Transportation Mobility. I work on a variety of topics. Shared micromobility is one of those. And when I say shared micromobility, we're thinking about those rentable e-bikes and those rentable e-scooters that we have in the community today. And so the focus of this discussion will be on our pilot program for e-scooters. And I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started.
We make you a co-host.
Looks like I'm disabled from screen sharing, but I'm sure that'll be fixed in just a second.
Here you are. Now you're set.
Okay, I'll give it a shot again here. There we go. It's working. Go ahead and find that here. It's not popping up. One sec. Okay. All right, we'll try this again. All right, there we go.
And
excellent.
It's coming. We don't see it. There it is. We see it.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay. And then let me go ahead and click on the current slide here from the beginning. All right, there we go. Excellent. Yes, again, thank you for your time tonight. So essentially what happened was about, well, 2 years ago, City Council authorized or directed staff to include e-scooters as part of its program. And they said, hey, before we go full bore on this, let's go ahead and try it out in a pilot program area east of 28th Street. And so we obliged and have been working on that ever since. Before I get to the timeline, let me just provide the rationale for why we're doing this. And this is the essentially the goal for the whole shared micromobility program. We're looking to provide transportation alternatives, sustainable forms of transportation to improve quality of life and provide connections to transit and reduce traffic congestion. And ultimately, it stems up to reducing our overall greenhouse gas emissions. So from a transportation perspective, you can imagine that's one of our foremost objectives. And so before we kicked off the pilot program, we identified a number of evaluation criteria. You know, how will the program be used? What's the overall utilization? Safety being a paramount concern. How do people who live in traditionally underserved neighborhoods, how would they use this particular program? Mode shift and getting back to that transportation. Are we displacing motor vehicle trips or other types of trips? And we're going to discuss that in a little bit. And then the other parts are how these are parked in the public right of way, the community feedback, what we're hearing about it, and of course the sustainability of the devices themselves, apart from the greenhouse gas savings. And so again, here's where we are. And so it was back in October 2020 when the policy was created and we issued an RFP. We selected Lime as our vendor, and then we launched into the pilot program August 17th, 2021. And the data that we're going to share tonight, it goes from August 17th, 2021 through August 31st, 2022, just a little bit over a year. And so here we are tonight, sharing some of the key findings from the draft report with our community stakeholders. And so, of course, the DMC, you are one of those important stakeholders. You can see the list of the other stakeholders we've been meeting with over the past month and a half. And so what we'll do after following our Transportation Advisory Board and our City Council, we'll take all this consideration, all the input into consideration, and then we'll apply those and create and basically perform refinements to the program in Q1 2023. And so what are we seeing? We're seeing sort of a mixed bag right now, truthfully. We see utilization. People are definitely out there using these things, and they're using them for all different types of purposes, whether it be fun and recreation, whether it be for getting to school, getting to work, running errands, going shopping, a lot of economic activity associated with this, which we'll discuss. But then we're also seeing some behaviors in terms of parked vehicles, and it's not always the behavior on the part of the customer, but sometimes these e-scooters can be moved by a third party. Sometimes they're knocked over by the wind, but sometimes they are parked in places where it's less than ideal. And so they're blocking sidewalks and multi-use paths, and they're blocking. This is really the most important concern we have, is they're impeding the path of people with disabilities. And so what are we hearing? So, we have the trip utilization, but we also administered a questionnaire. Maybe some of you saw that and participated in that questionnaire as well. We had over 1,000 responses, which I think is a city record on our Be Here Boulder platform. And then Lime administered a questionnaire to their customers. And then we also got information through our Inquire Boulder reports. And then we have frequent direct contact with city and Lime staff. So the major themes here, like I mentioned, the big thing is the blocking of the sidewalks and the multi-use paths. People see these abandoned e-scooters abandoned in ditches and in riparian areas. People have experienced unsafe riding behaviors. There's concerns with aesthetics. They can appear as clutter. But on the other hand, the flip side, there's an appreciation for these new devices to help get people around Boulder in a fun and a convenient way. And they're using them for both utilitarian and recreational purposes. So let's get into the numbers here. Utilization. All right. So currently there's 300 devices that are operational, 300 e-scooters that are operational in East Boulder. We started with 200, but we have a demand-based cap for this program. So if in 2 weeks the vendor can achieve greater than 2 trips per day per vehicle, they're able to up the number of devices in their fleet to meet that demand. And so it's a way of being able to manage what's the appropriate amount of scooters in the market. And so currently there are 300 e-scooters. They've generated 115,000 trips, and that equates to over 117,000 miles. Now, if you look across the whole year, we're looking at 1.5 trips per day per vehicle. That's not bad from a shared micromobility standpoint. B-Cycle back in the day, we were lucky if we were getting 1 trip per device per day. So it's showing some promise. And you can see the graph to the left here. That's the utilization, how it spikes when we started the program in August 17, 2021. And there was a gradual decline with the colder months. And then it started to pick back up with the spring. And then so the reason why we went a little bit longer than August 17th, 2022 is I wanted to show how when students are back in school, how that spike goes back up again. And we see the growing use again. So we do have this sort of inverse bell curve, if you will, out there. These trips are very short. Also, they're about a mile in length, about 11 minutes. And so they're really used for these, like I said, short trips to go to the store, to go to school, go to work, using within the proximity of a small geographic area. And to date, they've burned about 26,000, they saved about 26,000 pounds of CO2. The report gets into the whole methodology of how we factor that in, but we're estimating about 25% of the e-scooter trips displaced motor vehicle trips. Now, 26,000 pounds of CO2 is equivalent to about 1,300 gallons of gasoline consumed. And then finally, the last piece, the 4 severe crashes. These are actually moderate to severe crashes. This is the situation where there was an e-scooter crash and they were transported to the hospital by an ambulance. And when we think about moderate to severe, we're thinking about something that's incapacitating. It's either it be a head injury or a laceration or a broken wrist or a leg, something to that degree, something where the person needs to go to the hospital. Overall, we've had about 17 crashes. Again, 4 of those being moderate to severe. The others are reported as a minor injury. They've come off the scooter, they've twisted their ankle, they maybe got a scratch, something that's where they're not likely to go to the hospital because of the crash. All right, now let's take a look at these heat maps we have here. And so what's great about this program is we have the ability to manage this from our desktop. Each device has a GPS unit embedded in it, and we can see where these things are going. And as you can see, they're going all over the pilot area. That spine that you see there, that dark purple spine there is 30th Street. And they're really using that as the primary north-south corridor. And then what you'll see here in a minute is that there are some hot spots where people are starting trips. But the point of this map here is to show the penetration, the pervasiveness throughout the entire pilot program, and that they're using all multi-use paths and streets in that entire area. And here's that trip starts map here. And so there's some areas of interest that I want to point out here. We've got some traditionally underserved neighborhoods to the north, Orchard Grove and San Juan del Centro. We got the Vista and Parkside Villages and San Lazaro. And then in the center there is the 29th Street Mall. And you can see that there's a lot of economic activity that's generated through the start trips. Now, if I was to show you the end trips, it would look very much the same because of these trips being so short in duration. But they're definitely using these to access that economic center. And then the other two are East Boulder, the CU Boulder East Campus and the CU Boulder Williams Village. And there's a lot of activity going between the campuses and also to main campus, but they get stopped right now at 28th Street. All right, now I'm going to talk about the mode shift. Again, from a transportation perspective, this is really important to us. And so if you look at the yellow there, it would have I would have driven a car, and then the aqua blue is I would have used a ride hailing service. Those are motor vehicle trips. And so from our survey, it looks like nearly half of the people would have driven a car or used a ride hailing service if an e-scooter wasn't available. That's very interesting. We only accounted for 25% of all trips, but our results, and they're not statistically valid. This is just a questionnaire, but it is showing that there is this displacement of motor vehicle trips. And from a transportation perspective, this is a good sign. On the downside, or the flip side, if you will, we're also displacing active transportation trips. So that peak there, that large triangle there is, or that pie is walking trips, right? And the other blue one there is biking trips. And so again, these are short trips. And so people are getting to their destinations faster. And so instead of walking, they're taking the scooter. Now, what's the physical condition of the people that are using these? It's really hard to say. Are we creating an active lifestyle for folks? It's debatable here, but you can see that the e-scooters are playing a convenience factor in getting people to their destinations faster. All right, and then where are they operating? And so the green here is the bike lane, and folks were able to. It was a multiple choice question, and so they can let us know all the different locations where they use the device. And so bike lanes and multi-use paths were the top. The low traffic residential streets were was the bottom, and then people also indicated they were using sidewalks. What? Sidewalks are illegal to ride an e-scooter on. And so if they responded with the sidewalk, we asked them why. And those are the top 3 reasons you see on your screen of why people don't feel safe riding an e-scooter in the street. Even if there's a bike lane, it's because they feel vulnerable. They feel too close to traffic. They feel like they're going to get hit by distracted drivers. There's a number of reasons, you know, in terms of the average daily traffic, the speed of the vehicles, but essentially people aren't feeling safe. And then there's also this convenience of being able to travel on one side of the road when you're on a sidewalk, go bi-directional, as opposed to having to cross the street, go the opposite direction, then cross the street again to get to your destination. All right. And then going back to the evaluation process, this is where we're at. Here we are in November, and we're going to take some input from you guys tonight. And then we're going to fold this in. We're going to bring it to council. They're going to get more direction, and then we're going to apply those refinements in first quarter of 2023. So the questions I have for you today, and we can talk about all kinds of things here that come to mind, but do you have any observations from the pilot program that you'd like to share of what you've seen thus far? And do you have any suggestions to refine the e-scooter program? Okay, that's my presentation. Thank you very much, and I'm open to discussion.
Thanks, DK. Commissioners.
I have a question. Is it under consideration to open up e-scooter availability to the entire city?
Yes, it is. And so this meeting is actually on the heels of our Transportation Advisory Board. And based upon the input we've received thus far, we had met with the Downtown Boulder Partnership, CU Boulder and whatnot. There is an interest in expanding this program citywide, but being careful around some of our sensitive areas like University Hill commercial area and downtown, of course, and then also some parts of CU Boulder too. And we've got some potential ideas, a strategy for how we might take care and expanding the program to those areas. But yes, we are looking at potentially a citywide expansion.
I guess for me, I mean, our focus in this group is on downtown. I do not support scooters downtown. It's very dense downtown. It's very different than the eastern part of town. Lots of cars, lots of people. Sidewalks aren't the best if people are riding on sidewalks. I have noticed that where I see them, scooters are just everywhere. So aesthetically, I just think it would not be a good move for downtown. And I don't think it would be safe. I mean, I think a lot of the usage is younger people. And there are a lot of bars and restaurants downtown. I'm not sure drinking and driving a scooter is the best thing to do, but I'm not the target market for scooters either, so.
Right. We do have a curfew on them, which is, I think, helped with the inebriation and riding a scooter and whatnot. They shut off at 11 p.m. But listen, I'm hearing your concerns, and that is, staff have the same concerns around downtown. And I know this is a complicated discussion. On one hand, they could provide employees of downtown a way to get to work and then a way to get home from work. They do open it up from less car usage in the downtown in terms of accessing the downtown area. And we've got some demonstrated economic activity that's happening. However, we also don't want e-scooters on sidewalks in downtown because there's so many people walking on the sidewalks. We absolutely do not want e-scooters parked or ridden in the downtown sidewalks. Yeah, it's so, we've got some ideas on how we might be able to broach that topic about how we can get them there, but have restricted access of where you can ride in the downtown and have them park around the peripheral of downtown. So are we able to allow penetration through, but you can't park, and you ride unless you're on the outside or the peripheral of the downtown area? And the other point that I was going to bring up was where this is a hard part is right now the facilities downtown aren't very conducive for someone who would normally feel vulnerable on a road. Like we've got a lot of shared streets and people who are not comfortable with riding with traffic. That's not an environment that they're going to feel comfortable for. And a lot of time, that's why we see people on sidewalks. So we know that the facilities downtown are not, people don't feel safe enough on them, and we don't want them on the sidewalks. So how do we restrict this access? And that geofencing technology is one tool which we can say, we can get you through, but you can't park in the middle, and you also can't ride on some of the side streets and whatnot too. Let me share a slide with you here. This is our, you may remember this. This was our, we developed this together a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, when we looked at dismount zones in the downtown, and we took we went a surgical approach, and we said, these are really the streets where we don't want to see people riding bikes on sidewalks. I think that we would propose that we emulate something like this. And we might see, if you can see my cursor on the screen, we might say that there could be parking around the peripheral of these areas. And we'd say, how about, can we use the geofencing to access through 13th Street, but still have the parking on the outside, or through 14th? But we share your concerns, and we don't have the silver bullet for how this is going to work necessarily. But there's a benefit of getting folks downtown on these, but there's also the challenge of keeping them off the sidewalk. I hope this helps to explain a little bit of our rationale, what we're thinking thus far.
Yeah. That's.
I support Susan's general comments. Generally, when I see someone on a scooter, I don't think, wow, they're doing a great job. I think they're cutting across 3 lanes of traffic at 10 miles an hour. Maybe my biggest concern was just the junkiness of it, but they're everywhere. And I saw when in the packet, I read it several days ago now, but some reference to kind of like how Lime has to pay fees and stuff, and how that fee structure works. And so one of my questions is, can Lime be charged a higher rate for scooters that are not put away well for whatever reason? Can we put it on Lime so that they're having to pay a bigger fee for having that license to be in here for every scooter that's in the way?
There's ways in which we can impose a fine, because in their contract right now, they're not allowed, their customers and Lime are not allowed to have scooters blocking or impeding sidewalks. And so if there was enforcement, we could impose that. I don't know if we would shift the per trip fee necessarily, but it's an idea. However, creating designated parking areas, and let me show you one here. I think I might, here's one. Creating designated parking areas might be the trick. So again, if you're on an e-scooter and you've come through downtown and you're ready to park it to go walk to your final destination to grab dinner and whatnot, you are instructed by your mobile app, where to park. Now that person cannot end their ride until they've parked in this designated parking area. And so it's virtually geofenced. And then it's also demarcated as such in the public right of way. So there's a visible location, and it's also telling you, you can't end your ride until you park it in this zone. And we think that would effectively keep the more orderliness, if you will, to parking in these sensitive habitats, these sensitive zones. This is the method or the operation, the operations that CU took on. And so we were able to test that on campus. And they haven't had the issues of the e-scooters parked all over the place. They're parked in these particular spots because the user can't simply end their ride until they've done so.
And so, like, by saying that, it means it just keeps charging them because they haven't officially ended their ride. They might get off, but they're still paying.
Yeah, yep, exactly. And that's,
We'll do that one.
Great.
And that doesn't happen a lot because of course, you're being charged 37 cents a minute. And that can add up pretty quickly. And so and that's could be another reason why some of the trips are so short, is they know it's going to take $2 or $5 to get to their destination. We think about ride hailing charges as well. And so that cost of taking that ride comes into play in terms of the distance, the length of the trip as well. And so they're thinking about quickly, hey, I got to end this ride soon because I don't want to get overcharged. I don't want this to become a $10 ride. The photo on the left is at CU, and this is a photo on the right from our first. We're experimenting with this right now. This is the public right of way at the Park East Square neighborhood south of East Boulder or the East Campus. Let me go back to this. Yes.
Justin, did you have any thoughts or questions?
I think you've touched on every concern I've had.
So
I don't know. I
all
kind
three
of share a lot
commissioners
of
are.
it.
We're all kind of not excited. I get the equity aspect and how it does cut down on drives, and it's cheaper and there's a lot of benefits. I would really, what you're talking about with CU being able to kind of sequester them a little bit is interesting. But there's not, 30th Street has a bike lane, but Broadway doesn't, but you could go down Walnut. So, if we can be really strategic and be like, I would map out lots more areas where like, if you go down Canyon for more than crossing it, you can't do it. Like get you off Broadway, get you off Canyon, get you off all these streets. And so I like, if we were going to pursue that, I would be like, let's map out a hell of a lot more where they're not going to fly.
And that's great feedback right there. And listen, I completely understand where you're coming from. In the early days when e-scooter programs were first launched, they were launched illegally. They deployed them in cities, and a lot of cities had to work backwards in order to regulate the programs. So we got off on the wrong scoot, if you will. But that put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths because they've seen this. I've seen this in multiple other cities. And but things have gotten better in terms of the geofencing. It's not 100% accurate. And trust me, I'm not trying to sell you on this tonight. I'm just trying to give you some of the rationale, some of the thought process that we've been going through to talk about how can we legitimately and safely expand this program, keeping in mind of all the sensitivities in some of these areas and the experiences that people have had with these over time. And so, based upon what we've done thus far in the pilot, we think that there's a way, but we have to be surgical, like you mentioned, Don. We have to really look at those large areas that we can geofence. So, essentially what happens if you come up to an area that's geofenced, you just lose power to this 125-pound machine. And it's no fun to ride. You're going to stop it, right? Well, actually, you can't stop. You got to go find a place to park it first, and then you can stop your ride. But like large areas like the mall, for example, we can geofence those areas where you can't have that penetration of that scooter. You could drag it into that area. That's true. And that's going to happen probably. We're going to have those one-offs, those outliers. But generally speaking, we think that it's possible to manage this successfully. And it's going to take time. There's going to be a learning curve a bit in terms of how it works in the downtown. And Lime's going to have to be all over it. And I will speak up for this company in that the whole business practices of the e-scooter industry has changed so much since when we first started tackling this issue 3 years ago. The devices themselves have gotten more robust, they're more durable, they're safer, they've got larger wheels, longer wheelbases, front and rear brakes. The technology, the equipment and technology have gotten much better. And then the business practices in terms of how they work with the municipalities has done a completely 180, where they had gone from illegal deployment to we'll do everything we can to work with you to make this the best program possible. And so they are very receptive to this and they understand the sensitivities and Lime being a company that's working in that's operating in Denver right now successfully, now without its challenges, but it's working. They work in Colorado Springs. They just won the contract in Grand Junction. The proliferation of e-scooter programs is happening all over the US. And I think they take great care in understanding how these sensitive areas work and the public relations aspect and safety aspects that go along with it. But I do recognize the apprehension and the experience that we've seen. And looking at East Boulder right now with e-scooters parked everywhere, we propose that's going to change too, because we're going to, it's not just the sensitive areas necessarily, like the places with high pedestrian volume, but it's also a lot of the neighborhoods all over Boulder where we got to find these spots where these people can park scooters. And so we don't have these. And again, it gets back to blocking the sidewalks and the multi-use paths that impede the travel for people with disabilities. There's zero tolerance for this. We have to have zero tolerance for that.
Well, I'll say that in general, I support that approach and being careful. We're not excited about I think I can say for all of us, we're not excited about the big picture, but we also can't impede progress. Susan and Justin, anything different you'd want to add to that?
Perfectly said.
No, thanks for considering our concerns.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks, DK.
We'll take great care moving forward with this, and I'll work with Chris to keep you updated on how this rolls out. And I'm always there to come back and talk to the DMC and listen to concerns, suggestions, refinements, and whatnot. So I appreciate your input tonight, and we'll take that back and integrate it into our report moving forward with Tav Council.
Thank you.
There was just one comment in Lane in the Q&A said, just for comparison, the B-cycle bikes must also be returned to a docking station and clicked in for the charges to stop accruing.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you, DK.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Don. Thank you very much, commissioners. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Let's try and get through these next items. First, Chip.
Two really quick things I forgot to mention. Tomorrow afternoon at 2:00, we're having a ribbon cutting downtown for the mural that's been in. That was a partnership with the city and Downtown Boulder Community Initiatives and Unico Properties and Pedestrian Shops and Streetwise. If you weren't a partner in it, you missed out. You should have been. It's a great, amazing mural there. So we're having a ribbon cutting. If you haven't seen the mural, it's on the 1400 block between Pedestrian Shops and what used to be the Arts and Crafts Collective building. It's an amazing mural, kind of two facing walls facing each other. So 2:00 tomorrow, we're having a ribbon cutting. And then our holiday party, Downtown Boulder Partnership member holiday party, which you are all invited to, is on November 30th at the Boulder Project. So mark your calendars for those two things I forgot to mention. Thank you, Chris.
So real quick on the 2023 work plan, we are in development internally at the staff level. We have a lot that we are anticipating for the downtown area. You've heard a little bit about it today. You're going to hear a little bit more about it when we talk about art in garages. Gateless is going to be a big lift for the department, for Cajun, for DMC in 2023. We will want to continue this conversation of what makes sense for our operation. You all are a big key part of that. We want to make sure that you all are in support of the steps that we're taking. Some other items are downtown streets as public spaces. There is a process subcommittee that was formed as a result of our conversation around West Pearl Street with Tara Weiner and Matt Benjamin. We're working really closely with the Downtown Boulder Partnership. There has been a cross-departmental work group that's been established to pursue possible transformations to downtown streets as soon as next summer. These won't be, we're not talking about really expensive infrastructure, but piloting, doing some pop-up tactical urbanism approaches to programming streets in different ways to try some things that will translate into possibly a longer term transformation. So again, you will all be part of that conversation. There are a lot of folks at the table, but something additionally interesting in 2023. Affordable commercial, which has long been a conversation in the community across the city when it comes to the rents that retail establishments are paying. It's a challenge that just came up this week with Boss Lady Pizza on the Hill. We hear about it downtown all the time. We do have dollars identified in the CIP for affordable commercial in the downtown. We're working with the CU Real Estate Center. Our group of grad students are studying affordable commercial programs across the country and are going to be formulating some recommendations for the city. So we'll be looking forward to speaking with you all about possibilities on that front. We have a number of capital projects in several garages, the Randolph Center, 1100 Spruce, 1500 Pearl, and St. Julian. We're wrapping up the procurement process right now. We're working to select our contractor. Anticipating that work is all going to be underway at some point in 2023. That is not everything. Oh, outdoor dining. We're going to have our next window for applications coming through. If you haven't seen the platforms that went out today, Foolish Craig's, Salt, Japango. The team is up at O'Dark 30 this morning working on those installs. We have a number of other installations coming in December. So continuing to see that program evolve. We are asking for additional ARPA dollars for more, anticipating more restaurants to apply for outdoor dining extensions in the spring. And so we're going to be asking council if they want to support that with ARPA dollars here in not this Thursday, but next Thursday. Also an ARPA request is activation in our commercial centers, particularly West Pearl areas and University Hill, where sales tax receipts are demonstrating that those areas are recovering slower than many other areas of the city. So we're working to identify resources through ARPA funds to work with our special events team and possibly an outside contractor or downtown Boulder partnership to do some activations, whether it's special events or other types of things to draw people into those spaces and improve the sales receipts in those areas. Did I miss anything that we should be bringing up? Thank you. All right, just trying to move through this. Next item, art and garages. We do have Mandy Vink on the call. She has been working with actually, I'll let you explain, Mandy, what you've been doing with Mary on getting an artist selected for 11 Spruce.
Sure, and I have a presentation, but I don't necessarily need to use that. But Lisa, if you could toggle that. So for the sake of time, I will give you all a quick update, especially because this does pertain to you. So thank you first and foremost for really your stewardship and support on reallocating some of the EcoPass savings over to the art and parking garages. We are using that 200,000, 50 grand is going to a temporary project through an ongoing program that's already underway called Experiments in Public Art. And then the rest of it is going into art and parking garages, a more permanent project at 11th and Spruce. So now I have my screen up and I'm not going to follow the order of this at all because I do want to be mindful of your time. But essentially, what we are trying to do with this project is to really have, there we go, is that we really wanted to take advantage of this funding opportunity. And so we're consolidating the standard public art process from about a 6-month window into 3.5 months. And so as we're going through this, it is important that I want to make sure that you are all informed in terms of what this opportunity means and how it implicates you. But then also to address the proposed joint meeting that's scheduled for next week, answer any questions that you may have, and then also to have feedback from you from an advisory perspective. The benefit is that we have both Stephanie and Susan from the DMC that are serving on our voting selection panel, which is a community selection panel. And so they have been great in terms of participation throughout the whole process and are really quite informed. Not only did they help inform the RFQ, which went out for a bunch of artists to apply for, we had over 168 applications, but they will also get the joy of sitting through a 4-hour meeting on, let's see, that would be on Thursday in 2 days. So these long meetings, they're a thing. But on Thursday, we'll have all of the proposals from 4 semifinalists. In addition, we have the technical review committee, which is a bunch of staff members that are really well knowledgeable in regards to the public art program or to the parking garages itself. So it's kind of an overview. And then for this round, we are focusing specifically on 11th and Spruce. It is one of the higher volume garages and also has a lot of really great architectural opportunity to integrate art into it. Every public art project has the same acquisition criteria that we have in terms of its review, not only the inherent artistic quality, which is, does it resonate with you or not, how contextually it fits into the location, and then an ability to maintain and install. What does that mean? Is it added work for staff? How do we minimize that? If it needs to be temporary, we acknowledge that as well, which is the time horizon of the artwork. And then we're looking for really something that is incredibly unique to Boulder, not only in its relationship to the collection, because historically the collection has been a lot of bronzes. And so we're really trying to broaden that, but also having a variety of voice, not only from the artist perspective, but also from who engages with the work, what the material is made out of, what the aesthetic experience is. So that kind of runs through in a nutshell. We do not yet have, actually, we are just now receiving the proposals, but I will have an image of each of the finalists that is presenting on Thursday for you all, just to be familiar with the fact that one of them is Matt Brand, and he's doing perforated aluminum panels. Again, the proposals won't be available until Thursday for the selection panel, so this is just a sample image of what he applied with. The next is Streetwise Arts, and so although this is a project at 19th and Yarmouth, Leah Brenner-Clack, who is a Boulder resident, who, as Chip was just mentioning, has been incredibly instrumental in getting a lot of murals and youth opportunities within our community. But she's also partnering with some artists to have mural, sculptural component, and augmented reality within the proposal. Then David Franklin tends to do kind of relief approaches on facades of buildings. And finally, Rebecca Rutstein, who does, again, relief attachments, but also with some programmable LEDs. So again, on Thursday, Stephanie and Susan will be seeing what the proposals are specific to 11th and Spruce. So here's where the next steps come in, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, is that because of the timing and because of how the budgetary process works within the city of Boulder, we needed to call that emergency joint meeting. What happens is that a recommendation is put forth by the Arts Commission, and typically we're able to meet with boards and commissions prior to the Arts Commission having the recommendation, so that they can be informed by whatever comments or feedback you might have. Due to some change in schedule and also the end of year project closeout and end of year budgetary process, we are calling a special meeting on the 17th, and then we'll immediately seek approval from the city manager for the process. Thereafter, the selected artists will go into contract and we'll work through preliminary design and community engagement, and then finally fabrication and anticipated installation. I put spring 2024. That's not, it could be summer of 23, but just to give a little wiggle room, especially since we do not know which artists we're going with yet. So with that, I want to open it up to, that was a lot of information to throw at you very quickly. I want to open it up to questions and also any feedback that you might have for us to take into the proposal meeting. And then any questions you might have in regards to that emergency meeting on the 17th.
Thank you so much, Mandy. That was an awesome, quick presentation. Certainly, welcome questions from the commission on the work so far, and also want to make sure that folks that we're at least able to get 3 of you in attendance at the special joint meeting, and so that we can work together with the Arts Commission on approving a finalist. Sure.
Well, it's interesting. We have Stephanie and Susan from our board on that board. So Susan, anything special you would like to add based on your knowledge of this so far?
Well, it's been a great process. There were, I think, 168 applicants. The first go around was really hard to whittle it down because the diversity and the richness and just the excellent quality of the submissions it was a tough decision. So I think that whatever we end up with of these finalists, it's going to be great. It's hopefully going to be something totally unique, interesting. As I said, I want to be able to tell people that I was involved in it, not like drive by and try to like divert people's attention to the other side of the street. So I'm confident that we'll be able to do that.
Justin, did you have any questions, comments?
No, I'm eager to see how this ends up.
I was just gonna ask, I think I missed, what is the overall project budget?
150,000.
Yep. And so to clarify on that, the advertised budget was 122,500, which is going into the artist contract. The remaining funds were used not only for the honorarium of inviting folks to put together proposals, but also to bring on Mary Valdez as a contractor to really help manage this project so that we could fit it into the workload and not, have money left on the table at the end of the year. And then the remaining 50 grand goes into experiments in public art. Did I just confuse everybody?
Mandy, thank you so much. No, that was great. And it's so exciting how quickly this has happened. It's only been, I think, a couple meetings since we got together and said, hey, we have some extra money. Let's do something with it. And here we are making something really interesting happen. So great synergy between the inclusion of arts and culture now as a part of community vitality. This is exactly the type of things we want to be realizing. We don't want to be stressing people out and driving them away to new jobs. But this has nothing to do with Manzanita.
That's also why Mary Valdez is on we didn't know this at the time, but I am also in the midst of transitioning. So I'm confident that with Mary's support, this will definitely result in great work. So.
All right, and the commissioners, you all have the joint meeting on your calendars? The 17th. Okay, let's make sure we get it. Yeah, 17th from 5:30 to 6:30. It's a 1-hour meeting.
I was waiting for the go ahead from Matt, just to send that out. So I should be sending it tomorrow.
Right. Perfect.
5:30, 6:30.
Great. All right. Thank you so much, Mandy. Unless there's any more questions regarding that, we can move on to the DMC Commission recruitment questions.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Mandy.
Thanks, Mandy.
So including your packet, we shared with you the questions, the DMC specific questions that council includes in their recruitment that will go out in March of next year. We wanted to provide you all, it's the very last page on the very back of your packet, and provide you all with an opportunity to review those questions and let us know if you feel like they're still appropriate to attract the right type of applicants that you would like council to be considering. Is there something missing? Any feedback you provide tonight, we can incorporate into revised questions or new questions.
One thing that I see that's missing, there's nothing about parking, and that's such a big part of what we talk about, what we do. So maybe there should be something specifically.
It's a good question. That's so personal as why we talk about access to management. And this is one of the challenges with our conversations with council, especially a very progressive council that does not necessarily have the same perspective around how we should be managing the parking that we do manage. Not all of the council members are in that space, but some of them are. And so I guess the question I would pose back is it the desire of the commission to make sure that we do call out parking? Maybe in that first question, what are the changes to parking and access management for downtown that would enhance the vitality, walkability, and functioning of the core of our city?
Yeah, that would help. I just feel like, just with these questions, people might get a different impression of what the day-to-day or month-to-month functioning of this group really is. So however we could reflect that.
I like what you're saying, Susan, because I agree. It's a little bit like a bait and switch to a degree of what you're actually doing when you join the board.
Great.
I would maybe have a question as what is your opinion on opening or closing the west end of Pearl Street? I wanted to see, I don't know if we want to get into that hot of a thing, but I would be interested in see what someone would have to say and how they would delicately answer that. I don't mean to have it that asked, but I do
Well,
wonder.
maybe it could be turned into more of a less specific, sort of something addressing.
Well, maybe it's downtown streets as public spaces. Very good. And because
Great.
that's the current process subcommittee. So maybe that's something on, maybe it's revision to question 8. And sorry for the numbering, there are standard questions that come before these questions. So maybe there's a revision to number 8 that's not just focused on Pearl Street Mall, because the DMC is not focused solely on the Pearl Street Mall. And who are advisors related to all of CAGID. Just so, are there thoughts on we need a new question or revision to that question or another question that makes sense?
It could be
I'm all for
and the district. Call both of them.
Were you gonna say something, Don?
I was all for not asking another question, but just simplify and streamline number 8 was kind of
Okay. So we'll take a shot at revising based on the or downtown streets as public spaces and work that item into question 8. Lisa, when are these due to the clerk's office? Do you know?
December 5th.
Okay, so I see it. That's great. Guess I should have read the homework. So we will then take your advice and we'll modify that question to incorporate that and let you know what we settled on. Anything else? It's fine. All right, well, that concludes matters from staff.
And so in matters from the commissioners, other commissions have had retreats. When I've had a chance to speak with some of the other commissioners individually, and at the bottom of page 2 of our packet are our DMC priorities, and those don't seem necessarily in line with kind of what we're actually discussing and kind of some of the things that we have some interest in. And so I've got a sense that, well, I would not mind having time to not necessarily focus on the matters at hand every time and have a retreat where we talk about kind of where's the board going, what should we do, and how can we support council in the best kind of way, so that we're maybe having time to not always just put out fires and answer the questions of the day, but we can also do some forward looking. I do know that we have scope of kind of the box we have to work within, but I wanted to see if the other commissioners had interest in having a planning session, a retreat of sorts. It would be facilitated by the city, I believe, right, Chris?
Yes, we typically do facilitate the commission retreats.
What are the rules around retreats?
It's really up to the commission to decide. We just had the UCAMC commission this morning, actually, from 8:30 until noon in this very room, and discussed what you just brought up, Don, is looking at the 2023 priorities, having some conversations and did some exercises regarding challenges and opportunities the Hill is facing. we can certainly, again, have that same conversation, a retreat conversation with you all to refine the 2023 priorities. If you feel like the 2022 priorities are off, I guess the question would be, is a half day conversation make sense to you all? And would you like that to take the place of the January meeting, or are we thinking maybe further on in 2023? It's just whatever. There in the past, sometimes the retreat conversation happened after the commission recruitment occurred, where we had new members coming on and all seats filled. Again, it's really up to you all. And we are here to assist you in having a successful conversation to strategically decide where you want to be going.
When is those new commissioners maybe going to be seated?
That would be the May meeting.
May.
It feels like it's a long ways off if we're gonna do this. What about the priority setting? When are those due?
We have not gotten any communication that council is soliciting letters from commissions, since it's the same council as last year. The intention at this point is that the council retreat is more a mid-term check-in on the 2022 established priorities. So at this point, there is no request that I know of that's coming to any boards or commissions on priorities in 2023.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that we.
Absolutely.
I would
And
be up
likewise.
for having a retreat, but before May. I just feel like that's.
So then might I propose maybe not January, because that might make all our collective hair fall out. But the March, if we could commit to the March meeting, or do you want a special retreat in February or something like that? So March is probably our desire. That way we will be after the council midterm retreat. So we'll at least have an idea of where they landed in their ongoing priorities, and we can incorporate that into the conversation related to any downtown specific priorities that are included in the conversation.
That'd be fine with me.
So we will target, unless there's any other discussion, Don, on March.
March works for me. I think the new commissioners don't always know what's going on. And so I think if we present them with our new priorities versus letting the blind lead us, per se,
Absolutely. Well, oftentimes in March, the prospective commissioners who are applying listen in. So there might be an opportunity to have folks at least listen to the conversation and get familiar with the direction.
Sure.
So there might be some good opportunities. All right. And then thoughts on a half day?
Maybe avoid spring break times. Because
Absolutely. We will do a doodle poll. It does not have to be on the standard date that DMC regularly meets. So Lisa will plan to send out a doodle poll. Are folks thinking a half day session?
Yeah.
Great.
And then if we wind up early, we'll go to lunch or.
Yeah. I like the way. All right, perfect.
Great. Well, that concludes our agenda. Our next meeting is Tuesday, January 10th. I move adjournment. Does someone second?
Second that.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Sorry I couldn't make it there. My apologies to you all.
Thank you so much, Don. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Stop.